Good, e- good evening, everyone. Welcome to CML InfoTech. As per the last session, we were discussed about VLAN, and we'll continue with the VLAN configuration, port membership, and intra-VLAN routing. So first we talk about the VLAN. VLAN, virtual LAN. LAN in the sense, local area network. So why the VLAN has been popular, or what is the benefits of VLAN? Consider that you have two devices or three devices need to connect in the network. So generally, we will be using a central device called switch, and switch will have a ports, and we will be connecting fiber or copper cable to the switch. Let's say switch port number 1, port number 2, and port number 3. And this is NIC port. This port number we will be also referred as F0/1, which means fast Ethernet, first module, first interface. In sometimes the fast Ethernet will be moved into GI, Giga Ethernet, or 10G, 10,000 Mbps speed. When I said F, fast Ethernet means it's 100 Mbps. In order to make them in a single network, it required IP address. Example, as we know, IPv4 class A, B, C address, we can take a reference as 10 network. Hope you can remember this address, which is 10 called class A. Because of 8 network in class A, we define /8. So the rest of the 8, the remaining 24 bits is for host portion. When a host portion completely becomes 0, that will be referred as network address. And I need an IP address to this system, example 10.0.0.1, 10.0.0.2, 10.0.0.3. We can define any value from 1 to 254 from second, third, fourth octet because they are in the same network. In a real scenario, this 10 network you can consider as one LAN, one local area network. If I need another network like this, we can consider it as a system network or system LAN. If you need another network for another purpose or another services, what I meant that like a telephone, access control system, CCTV, BMS, building management system, Wi-Fi, could be anything, servers, okay, different services means. And each services must have individual network. So if I need additional different services, either I should go with a different switch with a different devices connected with a different network, example 20, or different switch with different services. Example, here I'm connecting all telephones, or another switch I'm connecting all APs, access points, for the Wi-Fi purpose. So why I'm making in a different switch? Because they must be in a different network or different LAN. So that is not a possible best design to use different switch for different services. Instead, what we will do, we will hire a single switch. Single switch. Let's say this is a port number F0/1, and this is until F0/24, 24 port switch. And I'm consuming 3 ports here to connect system. Okay, then 4, 5, 6 I'm using for access point for the Wi-Fi, and few for phones, and few ports for servers. The way, based on what I need, I'm going to use different remaining ports for different services. And for them to communicate, the access point should talk to access control. I mean, the access point should communicate with wireless LAN controller. The phone should communicate it to call manager, which is the telephone server. So in order to make them a proper design, each services or each requirement must be on a different network. Example, if I put the system under 10 network and the access points, let's say 11 network, or the phones, I'm going to use a class B network, and servers, maybe I'm going to use a class C network. So by looking into this switch, I have 4 services and each service have a different network. If I connected all of them into a single switch, when a 10 network start communicating, if a 10 system, like this is from computer and this from computer sending their traffic to this system. So this is from and this is to, or let's say this is source and the 2 is destination. Initially, a system, the sender system, the source or the from computer does not know where do I need to send. It does not know the destination. Therefore, the system will broadcast by using ARP protocol to the switch. Once the switch received any frame in the sense layer 2, any frame, a switch will be detect and write the source info details into the switch. Then it will look from whom should I send, who is the destination, who is the receiver. If a switch does not know who is the receiver, the switch will be forwarded to everybody, which we call it as a broadcast or flooding. So that floods or that broadcast will go to all other ports, which will be unnecessary, unnecessary receivable for other systems, which is not good and which is not needed. It will take a time for others to consume, or it will take time for others to read it. It will take their unnecessary times. So if I send a system from 10 network, and if it is a broadcast sending to everybody, that broadcast frame should go to any system which belongs to 10 network, which means any data or any traffic flowed from port number 1, and if it is a flooding frame or the broadcasting frame, it should go only to port number 2 and port number 3. And if any request is coming from port number 4, which is going to know about the others within the same network, it must go to port number 5 to port number 6. So others shouldn't be reflected, others shouldn't be affected. In order to design in this way, you knows about this is LAN, local area network, one group of network. This is another LAN, which is another network. This is another LAN, and this is another LAN. Either in order to achieve this without to do any configuration, you need to break them all the 4 into different networks. Let's say I'm going to use one switch for systems, one switch for access points, and one switch for phones, and the last one for servers. But this is a bit expensive, having a multiple switches and managing them, connecting them, and in order to mount them require 4 individual space in the rack. We call it as a U. Normal switch will have a 1 U. So if I'm using a 4 switches, I need a 4 U space in the rack, and in between every switch, I must need to have cable manager or cable tire or patch panel. So which again consuming the space for others. The other solution, by connecting all of them into one switch, so people who are from outside looking into that switch, they can see that devices are connected from port number 1 to port number 24 continuously, irrespective of whether it could be system, it could be access point, it could be telephones, it could be servers, it could be anything. Biologically, we will be stop the service. We will be putting the security or putting the layer to the broadcast, which is arrived from one port, we will be blocked within the same network. So here I could say, I need to define all servers broadcast must be within server network, and all telephone services must be in the telephone group. Same way, even for the access points, all access point services must be in access points. All the broadcast message. Later, if a system wants to communicate it to the server, or vice versa, can be possible. But here what we're going to discuss in that, to block, to minimize the broadcast the message from one network to another network, does not need unnecessary message to any unnecessary people. So how I can define this? So there we have a name called, either I have to go with a physical switch by having multiple switches for each services, telephone, servers, workstation, access points, etc. This is called physical solution. Or the best practice, we need to have a virtual solution that's called virtual LAN. So how do I define virtual LAN? This virtual LAN or the VLAN can be defined and configured only on the manageable product or manageable switch, which the switch will have a console port configured. So by default, if you have a 12 ports, 24, 48, 96, irrespective of how many ports that you have in a switch, by default, all ports are in a single network, one network. Okay, so if you have a one switch and you have a port number 1 to 24, all of them are one network. Therefore, if you connect it to a device in the port number 1, and you connect it to device in port number 10, and you connect it to device in port number 22, as long as you are giving the same network address into these 3 systems, they will become a single network. The reason all these ports are under one network by default. Even though all the ports are in one network by default, you assign an IP address 10.0.0.1/8, and you assigned 10.0.10.1/8. This is because of class A, only first octet needs to be matched. As long as the first octet has been matched, they're going to be communicate. And the third system, even though the third system which is connected to the port number 22, on the same network. If you assign an IP address, let's say 11.0.0.1/8. Here you can see the first octet, which must be same in the class A. Here these two are matched, and this is different. This is different. So as long as you have different network address, even though they all are in the same network ports, but the system IP has been different, they will not communicate. Keep in mind, if your ports all are in one network and your connected systems, if you're assigning an IP address to all the connected system to the same network or from the same network, it will communicate. Elsewhere, they will not. And as I said, all the systems are in one network. If it is a manageable, unmanageable means you don't have a questions about multiple networks. Unmanageable switch, all the ports always belongs to a single network. But in the management, by default, all ports are in a single network. Those network we call it as default VLAN, or we can call it as a VLAN 1. So we have a VLAN address that we can define from VLAN number 1 to 4094. You can create a VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 100, VLAN 800, any numbers. If you didn't define any VLAN, you just unbox the switch. You have done nothing in the switch. Think about, you have a CCTV network, a small, let's say 12 cameras, one NVR and one switch. So the NVR is nothing but a server for the camera. All the camera being connected to your switch, and your server is also connected to the same switch. And you have done a configuration, nothing. You simply powered on, connected in a space. It will start work automatically. The reason your connected devices IPs are from the same network. And your system port or your switch ports is by default all are into a single network. Then it will communicate. So if you wanted to have a security, or if you think that I have a multiple different services in my organization, I need them to be separation, I need them into a layer 2 security, then you need to define the VLAN. Even though if you think for VLAN defining configuring, when you bought the switch, it belongs to a single VLAN called VLAN 1. From there itself, you need to do by yourself to configure the VLANs on the specific switch. So before you configure, you should know how many VLANs I can create, or any other challenges may have in the future, or what are the ports that I need to define in the very beginning. Think that you have a 12-port switch, and 6 ports from port number 1 to 6 would be one network, and from port number 7 to 12 another network. When I say one network and another network in a manageable manner, we call it as a VLAN. So one VLAN, another VLAN. Okay, and you can define a VLAN from VLAN 1 to 4094, because the VLAN address is a layer 2, which is 12 bits. So 2 into 2 into 2 into, if you calculate it with 12 times, that's the value. If you understand the basic necessity details, and can you ask if you have any question? I can give you a 2 minutes break, and let me know if you have any question in the meanwhile. Now you can see I have a one switch, okay, and connected 4 computers into the same switch. And you can see the port number F01, port number F02, and F03, and F04. And I defined the IP address 10.0.0.1, 2, 3, and 4. Let me try to communicate between these systems. Communication in the sense, from the network engineer perspective, For us to cross-check whether they are communicating or not, we do ping, P-I-N-G. Ping is a service from ICMP protocol, which is in layer 3 to check the reachability. There's another command called tracert, T-R-A-C-E-R-T, or traceroute or traceroute to check the path for sending traffic from a source system to destination. So now I think we have an IP address to all the computers. Let me go to PC0. And command prompt. ipconfig. ipconfig is the command to see the IP address. It is a 10.0.0.1. Let me try to the ping 10.0.0.2, 10.0.0.3. Control C to stop her. Okay, maybe I didn't define the IP address to that one. Let me see whether the PC4 will have IP address or not. No IP address. 10.0.0.4. Now, let me see, put the IP address to 10.0.4. So now all of them are single network. And as I said earlier, that for if it's unmanageable switch, it's a dummy which you cannot do anything, just to click it, then all of them in a single network, as we said here, the same procedures. If a manageable switch, we can change some of the system into one network. Let's say I'm putting this system into this network and this system in another network, different network. To do this, I need to know the VLAN availability or VLAN configuration in the switch. So in order to see the VLAN, as I said, by default, all ports belongs to one VLAN, single VLAN. So let me look into the switch, double click the switch or single click the switch. Now you can see switch screen. Just enter. Hope you remember the command still. En is the enable. And show IP, show interface, show IP interface brief to see the interface. Here you can see that they have a port number start from 1 and the 4 ports are up. Okay, and you have a port until 24, which is downlink, and the uplink, which is connecting to another switch, is higher speed than the downlink. Okay, now you can see only 4 ports are up, the rest of them are down, and the command to see is called show VLAN to see the VLANs. Here you can see that port number 1 until all the ports belongs to default to VLAN. What is the VLAN ID? VLAN 1. Therefore, if we connect any systems into any port of the switch, they will communicate automatically if they have the same network of IP. Okay, now I can create another VLANs. To create the VLAN, you need to go to the global configuration mode, which is called config T. Then VLAN, the question mark. The question mark will tell you what VLAN ID that you need to define. So you have a VLAN until 4094. Let's say I'm going to mention VLAN 2. Now I created VLAN 2, and you need to define the name. The name defined is just for to understand that VLAN is used for what purpose. Example, I'm going to use VLAN 2 for call it as a name. I would say PC, and exit to go back. Again, VLAN 3 name, let's say server, exit, VLAN 4, name let's say Wi-Fi, exit, VLAN 5, name MGMT. I would say network MGMT. I have created VLAN 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and assigned a name. Now you can see the VLAN details. Either you need to go back to the privilege mode by giving exit command to see show VLAN, or else if you are in the higher mode, instead of going to downgraded, you can put the command called do, then you put the command show VLAN. Here you can see that you have a VLAN called PC, server, Wi-Fi, network management, and all these are active, I mean up, but you don't have any ports into that VLAN, by the way. Now you need to define how many VLANs must be, how many ports on a specific VLAN. That's the designing area. Consider port number 1 and 2, and 3 and 4. Like this, 4, 5 ports that you can mention into different VLAN. It's all based on the design and the requirements. Okay. In order to do that, I explained the scenario before. Example, let's say interface F0/1. Okay. Switch port mode access. The port must be access port. Switch port. This is the command access VLAN. That port is supposed to be on which port, which VLAN ID? Let's say VLAN 2. Now you can see the port number 1 moved from a from the VLAN 1 default VLAN to the VLAN 2. It's quite simple. What do you need to do? You need to enter to the port F0/2. And you need to define what kind of port it is. It is switch port mode access port. Access port means single VLAN carry. There's another type of port called trunk port, which can carry all the VLANs. Okay, now switch port access VLAN 1. Now the port number 2 become access port, and this belongs to, sorry, this must be belongs to VLAN 1 is the default. It must be belongs to VLAN 2. Now if you look into this, do show, you can see that first 2 ports are belongs to VLAN 2 and port number 2. I can mention the 3 and 4 ports to the server VLAN. It depends how many ports that you want as per the design. Let's say port number 3 and 4. If you put range command in a single line. Now switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 3. The same way the next 2 port 5 and 6, switch port mode access 4. Next 7 and 8, switch port mode access. Right. So I made continuously 2 port on each to be belongs to one specific VLAN. Do show. Here you can see that VLAN 2, 1 and 2. VLAN 3, 3 and 4. VLAN 4, 5 and 6. The way we have done this VLAN configuration. Okay, so hope you can understand the basic VLAN configuration. We'll wind up today. The homework for you, I'll share this video. The homework for you to create a multiple VLAN. I'll write the diagram and send it to you. Create a multiple VLAN and assign a port to that particular VLAN. Okay. Any question? Let me know if we can. I'll send you the homework. Okay. I think you need a little bit brush up on the previous sessions. So recommended you to go for show commands, show configuration commands and all. The next session, we can take a single VLAN configuration, single switch, multiple switch, and between VLAN configurations. In order to do VLAN to VLAN communication, same VLAN, different VLAN on the same switch, on the different switch, you need to practice the minimum commands which I have shown you today. Creating a VLAN, assigning a port to the VLAN. Okay, so I'll send you the homework. I need you to practice and share it to me before next Thursday, inshallah. Any question? Hope you have gone through the session. You need to define and create the VLANs, assigning a port to the VLAN. So, and you need to share it to us on before next Thursday, inshallah. Any doubt in between, you can reach to me one-to-one or in the group. Thank you. Have a good time from CML InfoTech.